You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters as we bring you our global Reefer Report from the Legacy420.com news desk. It's April the 7th, 2022, and we are live here on the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network's Facebook and YouTube pages. Plus, we'll be podcasted afterwards at paceradio.net and reeferreporters.com. Good morning, Glenn. How are you doing today?
Morning now. I'm doing great. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. The weather outside, just so everybody knows, it looks a little gloomy here.
And it's beautiful here.
Oh, jeez. Too bad.
Well, usually it's the other way around, so I'll take all of it this time.
Yeah, you're right there. Exactly. Yeah, you're right there. I see you got some guitars in your background.
Yeah, that's my little passion. I love guitars. I love playing them and making them and working with them and all kinds of things with them.
You make guitars?
Not quite make, but I do work on them. How's that?
Okay, all right.
I put one together so far and did all the work myself, and hopefully doing a lot more work on the next one.
Is one of those your favorite?
This Taylor right here.
Oh, nice.
That's my pride and joy. Absolute beautiful guitar, beautiful sound, very expensive, and the thing I'll probably keep forever.
Ah, that's good. And the others, I guess, are there to, they've all got their own purposes.
I use 3 of them on a daily basis, and the rest are just hanging around, and some are being worked on. There's a neck hanging over there, and there's a couple other things that we're doing.
And guitars to you is for something you just enjoy doing? You play in a band or?
No band. Just for myself, relaxation. Cannabis and guitars are my 2 go-to relaxation techniques.
Cannabis and guitars.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a good line.
Seems to go together really well for me anyway.
Yeah. Oh, good. Fantastic. Maybe someday we'll get you to play during the Reefer Reporters.
Someday.
All righty. Well, we got 10 stories for everybody today, so let's get started. First up, we got Labatt shutters CBD beverage unit in Canada in latest blow to category, according to MJ Biz Daily.
And Labatt Breweries from Canada, one of the country's top beer makers, pulled the plug on this non-alcoholic CBD beverage unit in Canada. Fluent Beverages, signaling continued pressure on Canada's fledgling infused drinks category. Fluent
had been born from a partnership between Budweiser and maker AB InBev, the world's largest brewer and cannabis producer Tilray. But the relationship ended 3 months ago, leaving the cannabis beverage maker solely in the hands of Labatt. And Labatt is a subsidiary of AB InBev.
Labatt said it intended to operate the unit as a wholly owned subsidiary, and its day-to-day operations were focused on commercializing CBD-infused beverages. Reach for comment, MBiz Daily, Labatt would not specify why it was closing Fluent at this time, or disclose the number of affected employees.
Now, in a statement provided by Labatt, they say that Fluent has decided to stop operations in Canada. We want to thank our employees, partners, and customers for their support over the past 3 years in helping us build one of the top CBD beverage portfolios in Canada.
Labatt will continue to keep an eye on the cannabis sector, a spokesperson said. The learnings from Fluent will be used to evaluate future opportunities within the category. We will continue to monitor the cannabis sector closely, said Tamer Neyessessian, Labatt's communications director.
Yeah, she went on to say that when Labatt announced the creation of Fluent in 2018, Fluent set out to research non-alcoholic cannabis beverages in Canada. And over the past 3 years, through Fluent, we have gained deep category insights into the cannabis sector and consumer preferences, expanded our research and development capabilities, and worked with some exceptional talent.
And in Canada, recreational beverages containing cannabinoids, even if it's just CBD, can be sold only via licensed establishments. That means retailers such as Walmart are prohibited from selling CBD drinks in their stores.
Another limiting factor in the country's current federal regulations, effectively eliminating public possession and therefore single purchases of 2.1 liters of cannabis-infused beverages, which is about 5 standard-sized cans. Just so you know, that has been updated. We can now. So they obviously, when they did this, that hadn't changed, or they weren't aware of the change. Of that.
Okay, so they're proposed changing the rules. They've already been done. If adopted, which they've been done, it's still unclear would be enough to spur the demand for niche products. Health Canada said there's no evidence the plan changes would lead to beverages becoming more popular among consumers, but the health department didn't rule it out.
The agency noted that this change may result in changes in consumer preferences, leading to cannabis beverages becoming a more popular cannabis product. However, there is no evidence to support that this change in equivalency and the corresponding impact on consumer preferences would occur. Well, got to give it some time, right, to find out.
Yeah, I think that's their problem. I think they dropped out too fast.
They may have.
Infused beverage sales, including both THC and CBD, amounted to slightly less than 40 million Canadian dollars. Too small of a pie, I guess, for them. Through the first 3 quarters of 2021, according to the latest figures from Stats Canada.
They say that's significantly short of the $500 million annual market predicted by the accounting firm Deloitte. Some of the biggest cannabis beverage makers in Canada have reported underwhelming sales.
I think that's because it's a fairly new product to Canada.
Yeah, it's a new product, and as well as, as I said, there was that limit on the amount the person could buy, but also that milligrammage, it needs to be increased too. And it's like, it is new. I know this summer myself will be the first summer that I'm going to be sitting around, and if I've got friends over to the house that are having a beer, which I can't drink, I'm going to have a cannabis beverage.
Yeah, I've never really bought one. I've never tried one, so I don't know. Someone brought some wine over once years ago that was infused, but there's no control, so I have no idea what it really was.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I got some. I had some wine at the time too. I still expect it to get larger.
I think it definitely will. Trust Beverage Co., a business venture between Molson Coors Canada and Hexco Corp., saw net beverage sales increase only 6% in the second quarter of the fiscal year 2022 for the same period of the year before. And cannabis growth hasn't fared much better.
Yeah, for the first 3 months of December 20 to ended December 31st, so basically the end of 2021. Their sales for beverages, edibles, topicals, and vapes was $6 million, which is a 40% drop from the same period 1 year earlier.
Some successful craft brewers steered clear of cannabis beverage, citing poor economics. When we got to the spot where we said, let's make sure the business case works over an extended period of time, it actually didn't. The money wasn't there, Waterloo Brewing CEO George Croft said.
Yeah.
I think that's because they haven't built the market for it.
Yeah, and is everything there yet? There's like myself, I'm very limited when it comes to the beverages that are out there in the stores because I can't drink carbonated beverages, and I don't like iced tea.
I find most of the iced tea is so sweet I can't drink it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm just not an iced tea person. So there's not really a lot there for me to drink. Like sparkling water is carbonated. I can't drink carbonated stuff.
Yeah. So what do you drink now?
I go to Legacy 420 and I pick up some raspberry lemonade.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 30 milligrams instead of 10. And nice. I drink that. I've got 6 bottles sitting in my fridge right now.
And you don't find it over sweet or anything like that?
Well, the thing is I haven't sat down and spent the afternoon sitting around with buddies having beverages
Yeah.
to find out.
Well, we're going to find out later this summer.
I know through this winter when I've come in after shoveling snow and moving snow and being very sore, I've had a beverage in order to deal with the pain from the muscle pain and everything.
And the results?
Oh, it helps. I find
good.
it helps. Yeah, yeah. I use beverages medicinally. Right. So, alrighty, on to our next story, which is very important to patients in Winnipeg, because in Winnipeg, they are pushing medical cannabis grow-ops out of residential areas.
Yeah, the city of Winnipeg is closing a pair of loopholes that allow medical cannabis grow-ops to sprout up in homes in quiet residential neighborhoods. Only in quiet ones, but the noisy ones, they're not allowed, or they are allowed, I guess.
Now,
there's
a key word there in that sentence: loopholes. This is something that municipalities and people in authority positions have been saying for quite some time. And come this review in 2023 of the medical program, I can see some changes coming up, and this is just the start.
You think they're going to clamp down harder?
Yeah, I think they are going to clamp down harder on designated growers. As we read these stories, I'd be surprised if some of these things didn't end up in the federal end of things. So,
and they use the same words all the time. It's about the drug addicts and people making neighborhoods worse than they are.
Right. Yeah.
Always.
Okay. Continue on the story.
City Council's Property Committee voted unanimously Tuesday to approve bylaw changes that will require Health Canada approved medical cannabis production facilities to operate within industrial or manufacturing areas, making it so much more expensive.
Yeah, yeah. In a parallel move next week, Council's Protection Committee will consider a report that will require medical cannabis growing operations to be licensed and inspected by the city and paying fines for violating those licenses.
The moves are intended to provide relief to people living in residential neighborhoods where medical grow-ups have emerged since the federal government legalized cannabis, including within new developments in the Waverly West ward. The city's not... Sorry?
Go ahead.
The city's not proposing a proscription against people who grow small quantities of medical cannabis for themselves.
Yeah, the changes only apply to designated cannabis production facilities, places where medical cannabis is cultivated by someone authorized by Health Canada to produce a limited amount on behalf of someone with a medical prescription. So what that means is that they want the designated growers required to go to an industrial area in the city to grow their cannabis for patients.
So if you're growing 8 plants for someone, you're supposed to rent a great big building, I guess, now.
Yeah.
That's basically what they're doing. They're increasing the cost astronomically.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, that cost, if I'm growing or you're growing for a patient, where's that cost? Who's paying that cost?
The patient's paying. In the end, they have to pay because the grower can't do it and lose money. You know what I mean? They don't have to make money that way, but they can't lose money.
Well, yeah, because like a designated grower is growing it from the patient. Yeah. It's as if they're already saying, okay, the designated grower is selling it. Well,
that's what they're doing. They're putting them in the same position as an industrial grower.
Correct. And as you go read on, you'll find even more like that.
It's a balanced approach that doesn't interfere with people's individual rights, City Planning, Property and Development Director John Khiron told Council's Property Committee Tuesday. The changes to the city bylaw require cannabis cultivation or storage facilities to be a minimum distance away from residential properties, schools, public parks, and playgrounds.
Growers also have to obtain and maintain a valid business license. Business license.
Yeah.
This is not a business.
No, it's not.
Not a business. So why in the hell do you need a business license?
This because they don't want them to grow for anybody anymore. They want them to go through basically government channels.
Yeah, yeah. And this, these things come from uh, you know, all the other stuff that happens around. And patients end up being victims of all this. When you hear about these big, large grows and so on and so forth, and I hate the fact that they use the word grow ops for patients' gardens,
Yeah.
because grow op has been labeled as a place where illegal grows.
Yeah, and dangerous.
And dangerous, correct.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah.
It's always about danger to you. It's going to hurt you.
Yeah, residential groups spoke in favor of the new bylaw, but longtime medical cannabis advocate Stephen Stairs said fines won't be enough to deter criminal elements who continue to grow medical cannabis in residential homes.
The new bylaw still requires approval from Executive Policy Committee and City Council. And the Protection Committee will consider the new medical cannabis licensing program on April 11th.
Protection Committee.
Yeah, the Protection Committee.
I haven't heard that one. So there you go. I think this is just the beginning of that. And come this review, they're going to clamp down on designated growers because of what's been happened. And
I think you are dead on point with that one.
It's it's unfortunate because there's our designated growers out there who do it all legit, and they're the ones that are going to have to deal with things, and patients are going to be the ones who will suffer, like you say.
Yep.
How is a patient going to be able to afford to rent a place, an industrial place?
Yeah, I can't see that happening, and I can't see them, paying for licensing and insurance and whatever else is involved, the inspections, everything. It's the money. It's almost impossible to work that way. It can't happen.
A patient is usually not all patients are, but it usually is on some part of or pay of disability.
Yeah,
that's their income. They're not out $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, be able to maybe rent an industrial unit in a park.
Yeah, and there are people who already they either can't grow or can't afford to grow by themselves.
Yeah, that as well, exactly. I know of a place close to me where people are complaining, but if it's a legal garden, prove that it's illegal. If you can prove it's illegal, then go in and shut it down. If it's a legal garden and it's been approved by Health Canada.
Well, that's what they're doing. They're going to make those Health Canada approvals illegal.
Well, they're gonna try to, they're gonna tune that somehow, and unfortunately, patients may pay again in the end. So
yeah, that's the way to get around the laws. You just say, "Oh, it's for people's safety."
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Community, the safety unit in BC, they have the CSU, the Community Safety Unit. As you just noticed there, you read off the Protection Agency or Protection Committee.
Yeah, I love the way they use that, the Protection Committee. Yeah. Who's protecting the patients?
Yeah, exactly. The patients.
Yeah.
Again. All right, on to our next story. And this one here. Ontario study shows illicit edibles have significantly less THC than advertised and high levels of pesticides, according to StratCan.
Ontario Cannabis Store has released a study looking at testing results of legal and illegal cannabis edibles. The results the government agency demonstrate that the illegal cannabis products had significantly less THC than advertised and contained high levels of pesticides not authorized for use on cannabis.
The study was conducted by the National Research Council of Canada on behalf of the Ontario Cannabis Store and the Ontario Provincial Police, and is similar to testing results released by the OPP last year on dried cannabis and vape pens.
And the newest study took samples from 44 edible cannabis products, 22 legal products purchased from OCS, and 22 illegal products seized by the OPP Provincial Joint Cannabis Enforcement Team during cannabis enforcement investigations.
Okay, so this isn't from any place, for example, from any of the reserves.
No.
Right? I can tell you our sponsor, Legacy 420, owner Tim Barnhart, he piped in on this article online, and he agreed when it comes to these THC readings being not exactly what's advertised on the package, because they've done the testing. He's posted the results online. I've seen them, and he has a lab. It's not just some little thing in the corner. He's got a lab, a real lab.
Yeah.
So yeah, he agrees with it. So, okay, go on.
David Roderick, Senior Director of Communications and Social Responsibility at OCS, says they hope to provide more testing results like this in the future, potentially by the end of the year or early next year.
I think with edibles, it's even more critical to understand dosage and dosing because onset can be delayed. I think it's a good piece of information for consumers to have when they consider their choices. And that's from Daft Rada.
Yeah, as part of our commitment to responsible consumption of adult recreational cannabis, it's important to help consumers make informed choices, explains Roderick. This is an initial commitment that we have made to doing this testing, and we will be continuing this going forward.
Now, we were aware of the work that the OPP was doing with the NRC on dried flower and vape pens, and it sparked our curiosity on what a similar test would look like for edible products. I think people, rightfully so, are careful about what they put into the body, and OCS thought this was a good way to extend the conversation a little.
And I think with edibles, it's even more critical to understand the doses and dosing because onset can be delayed, he continues. I think it's a good piece of information for consumers to have when they consider their choices.
Yep, the test results showed that the legal edible products displayed a significant higher degree of accuracy in THC levels than the illicit edible products when compared to the advertising amounts. The samples of the illicit edibles had on average of only 20% of the advertised THC levels, and some illegal samples contained up to 50 times below this advertised levels on the packaging. And I can tell you that Tim's results would be probably something very similar.
I'm going to have to read or look up those results that he got there.
Yeah, he says they're on the website. I haven't gone looking for them. I just see them when he posts them online. But if I see any, I'll send them your way.
Nice. Inaccurate THC levels were not the only issue with illicit products. Of the 22 illegal products tested, 19 contained at least one illicit pesticide, many of which were found to be several hundred times above the reporting limits listed in Health Canada's mandatory pesticide testing requirements for cannabis.
Yeah, here's a chart here. Sample number 23. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm just going to read off this one. Sample 23, 200 was the THC level, 200 milligrams. Actual THC count was 3.53.
Wow. They were out by a little bit on that one.
I think so. Yeah. Results showed that 86%, so 19 out of 22, of the illicit edible samples were found to contain multiple pesticides, such as piperlone dioxide, microbital, and I can't even pronounce those words, some of which were several hundred times more than the established Health Canada unit. One illegal cannabis contained 10 different pesticide residues, and the majority of legal products contained at least 2.
Wow.
Oh.
I'm glad they're doing this testing. They should have been doing it a long time ago.
Well, some people would say that I'm aware of, no one died a long time ago either. But yeah, it's not good to have pesticides in your products. And even the ones that are allowed by Health Canada, some people are still going, pesticides, no.
Yeah, obviously the ultimate is not to have any pesticides in it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Only 2 of the legal samples were found to contain trace levels of pesticides very near or below the limits established by Health Canada. Ontario Cannabis Store is committed to the legal cannabis market in Ontario, a market that prioritizes responsible, informed consumption and provides a safe alternative to the illicit market, said Connie Dijak, chair of the OCRC Board of Directors. Working with valued partners like OPP and other law enforcement agencies, we intend to continue to invest in research that provides our consumers with the information they need to make educated decisions around their purchase consumption choices.
There's another graph there. Yeah, on things labeled. Oh wow, there's one there labeled at 500 milligrams, and it had 110 maybe. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't like very concern me with the THC levels, even though it's completely dishonest. The pesticides really bug me.
Yeah, the pesticides bug me. The pesticides are nasty. You know, they got all kinds of issues there.
Yeah.
But the THC limit, what happens there is a bit of an experience that Tim shared with me is that he's had customers come in and they've bought product, you know, such as the stuff that we're talking about here. And, you know, it says 200 milligrams, and they've come into his place and purchased something that has much lower numbers. And they come back to him and say, holy smokes. You're like, are you sure your numbers are right? Because I really got stoned off of this, and that's not what I want.
I never thought of it that way, but that could be a little dangerous that way. If someone is thinking they're taking 200 milligrams when they're only taking 3 or 4.
Exactly. And like they've got all that lab stuff there. I wouldn't doubt there's at least $1 million worth of lab equipment in there. At least. So it's not a little laboratory, it's a big one.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Several samples of illegal edibles also contain very small amounts of THC, and testing showed that THC was only present on the surface of the edibles, which researchers say may have been produced by spraying THC on existing commercial products rather than infusing the oil in the original stuff. And unfortunately, I have heard of that.
Wow, I've never heard of that either.
I have. Yeah.
That's just scamming people. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Some of the samples of illegal edibles had significant discrepancies between stated THC levels and actual THC levels. 3 edibles that were listed as high as 200 milligrams actually contained under 5. Several labeled as 500 milligrams contained less than 200 milligrams.
New Brunswick and British Columbia have released their own similar results, testing results, looking into the other products. In New Brunswick, 7 illicit flower samples and 6 illicit edible samples were obtained from several unlicensed New Brunswick storefronts, along with 4 legal flower products and 5 legal edible types of cannabis from Cannabis NB.
And the results showed the majority of illicit flower and edible had THC levels far below advertised amounts, as well as higher than acceptable limits of several microbiological contaminants and pesticides. While all legal products passed testing for THC, microbiological contaminants, and pesticides, most THC levels were slightly under advertised amounts, and one was low enough to be used outside of acceptable deviation limits, likely due to age of the product.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because earlier in the article they mentioned about the test results, and you know they were closer to being accurate with the licensed producers, but they didn't give any real examples. So there you go. There's one example of a product that is below what it's doing, but it is only one. It's not like a pile of them.
Yeah, one out of all the tests. It's pretty decent number, I think.
Yeah, BC released a pilot project in 2021 and tested 20 dried cannabis samples that were seized from 6 places across Vancouver, and the CSU is BC's enforcement. Yeah, that's the community safety unit that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. The samples went to a federally licensed lab for testing, and the results showed 24 pesticides, along with high levels of bacteria, fungi, and heavy metals in many of the samples. These samples were subjected to the same full panel analysis to detect chemical and microbial contaminants as licensed cannabis producers are required to use. 24 pesticide residues were detected in 18 samples, and only 2 samples contained no detectable pesticide residues.
Oh, wow. Only 2, eh?
Yeah. But that could be super, super low because they only say no detectable pesticide residues.
Yeah. That's it's possible. There's It's things aren't looked after properly. Some things shelf life isn't very long, and if it's sitting out waiting to be sold someplace, not looked after properly, it's going to start going funny.
Yeah.
So, all righty, here's the good news story. That is, the BC government is asking for input on cannabis consumption lounges, according to Mugglehead magazine. Lounges. Gotta love
I
the
like lounges. Once the province finishes issuing the regulations, British Columbians will be able to legally smoke a joint at a music festival. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Sample different cultivators at a pot farm or to take a cannabis cuisine class.
Yeah, it's because on Wednesday, the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General announced a public engagement that aims to assess the level of public support, economic feasibility, and public health and safety implications for outdoor cannabis consumption spaces.
And British Columbians can submit their feedback via an online survey or a written submission of no more than 2,500 words. The engagement will be available from April 6th to May 9th at 4 p.m.
Okay,
and the province. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, okay, British Columbians, get to that paperwork and get that filled out.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The province will release What We Heard report summarizing the results of the engagement later this year.
Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General Mike Farnworth said in a statement that consumption spaces could provide an opportunity for the sector to become more economically viable and better meet the interests of people who consume cannabis. He says, at the same time, others have raised public health and safety concerns, which will need to be rightfully weighed. We want to hear the views of all British Columbians so they can help shape how BC's cannabis sector continues to evolve.
And the ministry published a discussion paper where it lays out the potential regulations around outdoor consumption spaces and outlines the challenges and opportunities of the spaces. The regulations would still prohibit smoking or vaping indoors. The paper explains how consumption spaces would encourage people to buy from the regulated market and mentions possible challenges such as increased rates of cannabis use or people driving high more often.
Back there in that first paragraph, potential regulations around outdoor consumption.
Yeah.
We don't want an outdoor lounge.
No, that it is a strange thing, but I do like the idea that it would be legal to actually smoke a joint at a music festival. Like, that's only been going on for 50 years.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, we're going to have our 200th celebration here in Marmora, and they have a beer tent, maybe down the road, it'll just be a beverage tent and it'll sell cannabis beverages as well as alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I think that would work. All right. Discussion paper mentions the possibility of co-location of cannabis and alcohol use, where establishments could apply for a license to sell cannabis without giving up their liquor license. I don't know if the federal government will like that, but the ministry says, because I think they don't like that. The ministry says that there is considerable concern from the public health and safety stakeholders about co-location, and they strongly oppose it. Yeah, we don't want the people consuming cannabis to have to get in a fight with somebody who's drinking alcohol because that person's upset the alcohol person. That's weird. I've never seen a fight at a vapor lounge.
Yeah, I've never experienced any fight where people are just smoking cannabis. I've never seen it.
No, exactly.
I'm not saying it's never happened in the history of the world, but most cannabis smokers are pretty peaceful people, I think.
Yeah, exactly. In earlier discussions, stakeholders suggested a range of possible scenarios for the spaces, including retail experiences such as sampling a cultivar at a farm or smoking a joint in the same retail location where you bought it. They suggested allowing special events such as cannabis cuisine classes or adding cannabis gardens at music festivals.
That's the music festival thing. I think it's great.
Yeah.
When they first legalized medical cannabis here, and I actually got my license, I phoned an event in Belleville, and they offered a space that you could go and smoke a joint.
Oh,
right
nice.
at the festival. And the
Nice.
next year, they didn't offer that space.
Oh.
Now, I don't know what happened or if someone complained or what happened, but the space wasn't available. You had to leave the venue.
Oh, did they allow you to go back in?
Yeah. Yeah. You were allowed to go back in, but you
Okay.
had to leave.
Some places have that policy. You know, once you leave, you can't come back in. I had that at Ontario Place where the guy says, "Oh yeah, you can smoke a cannabis out around, just past the gate."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Go
thank you.
somewhere else, in other words.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
The ministry
Go ahead.
The ministry presented challenges in setting regulations because of federal rules such as the prohibition of marketing and advertising in the cannabis industry and the restriction of a full service pot experience, as consumers would need to open the cannabis packaging themselves.
So the law requires them to open the packaging themselves instead of having a plate meal served to them.
Can you imagine going to a bar and they give you the beer and say open it, and then they take the cap back away and give you the bottle back?
Yeah.
They don't do that. They pour the beer for you most times.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. When cannabis was legalized in 2018, the province chose not to allow consumption spaces because of the lack of time to prepare a regulatory framework and because the province allows smoking cannabis in some outdoor public spaces. The paper goes on to say that for clarity, the province is not considering new restrictions on how and where cannabis can be used in public spaces.
And the Union of BC Municipalities last year said in a statement that the BC Cannabis Secretariat was planning on a broad engagement with key stakeholders, including UBCM's Cannabis Policy Technical Working Group, and planned a formal public engagement.
So there you go. Lounges of some part outside.
At least they're talking about it. I like
whatever, you know. It's a start,
right?
Yeah,
get them talking.
Somewhere. Yeah, people are talking, and when they see that there's no trouble around having a cannabis garden at an event, let's hope that it spreads out into other locations as well.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Last story before we go to break. And I thought this was a bit funny. Headline says Maple Ridge Council stops government cannabis store.
Yes. Maple Ridge City Council has said no to a government-run cannabis store to the relief of private retailers in the city. Yeah. The council voted against the provincial liquor and cannabis regulation branch's proposal to locate a new store on the corner of 207th Street and Lougheed Highway at the council's March 29th meeting. Yeah, here you go. You can have a private store, but no to the government store. It's just I'm so used to being the other way around.
Yeah. Steve Downsley, co-owner and president of Burp Cannabis, said the government store would have made it hard for him and other private cannabis retailers in the city to keep their stores profitable. And it would have been devastating to anyone in West Maple Ridge and hurtful to anyone, cannabis retailers anywhere in Maple Ridge, he said. We're getting hammered pretty hard by the government stores. Yeah. He says the government has the advantage of being both the sole cannabis wholesaler and also a retailer in the province, and their prices undercut private operators. He and other private retailers in the city made council aware that their businesses would be hurt by a government store. And Downsley has 2 stores in Port Coquitlam and 1 in Port Moody, and said BC Cannabis Store has taken a shark-sized bite out of our revenues. The government store in Maple Ridge would have been in the same strip mall as the Town Hall pub, known as the Hammond Mill Center. Turning down the application was part of a larger council decision around the city taking stock of how many cannabis retailer stores are needed in Maple Ridge. The Burp store will be the 5th. At the same meeting, council directed staff to prepare a report with draft policy amendments. The city is not accepting any applications for more cannabis stores at this time. Council's appetite is to press pause here. So are they doing that with any other type of business? Like, I don't think it's happening with other businesses. Like, are they limiting the amount of places that sell cigarettes, or are they limiting the amount of places that sell alcohol, or are they limiting the amount of fast food restaurants or anything like that? No, only this. Cannabis. Yeah. Yeah. It is evolving, but it's, with our governments, it's very slow, everything. Well, Trent Hills, they're looking at making it so you can't have any more than 3 or 4 stores in Campbellford. But yet, There's 12 places where you can buy an alcohol beverage within walking distance of the town bridge. And
yeah, I've been there many times, and I mean, it's a small town representative of all small towns.
yeah,
Anywhere in Canada, you can walk a block in a small town and get a beer.
usually, yeah, around that downtown area. Obviously, not in the residential areas, but yeah, it's just yeah. I don't like when they do that. But let's see. It goes on to say that the government store could proceed with an amendment to the 1,000 meter rule. The proposed location is 334 meters. So, if they stretch it out a little bit further, they'd be allowed to have a store.
Yeah.
There's a third retailer proposal nearby on Lockley Highway, which would be just 131 meters away from the government store.
You see, to me, this should be the same thing as applying to be a convenience store. Here's my money, give me my license, and you open your store.
And if the consumers decide that they don't want to purchase your products or go to your store, then you'll close because you won't be in business. You won't have anybody. Right. So let the market dictate how many are in there.
Yeah. I think a lot of this has to do with tax dollars. They want as much as they can possibly get from everybody.
And I blame some of it as a fear of the unknown.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, they're expecting the worst.
Yeah.
When like in Toronto at one time there was over 100 dispensaries that were operating before Project Claudia came around, but yet there was no disruption of violence or anything because they had so many stores.
And the same thing here in Fredericton. There was a lot of dispensaries, a lot of places you could go to get a super big variety. And as soon as the government cannabis stores opened, the police went on basically they sent them letters. You'll be closed by this day or you'll be in jail. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I see we're getting a little long here on the first segment, so we better just wrap up this story and, see what happens down the road. Does the government get upset at them and try to open up a store there anyways? Who knows?
Yeah. They will.
You just never know. All right, off to break we go. Glenn and I'll be right back in about 4 minutes. You're watching the Reef Reporters. We are live here on the Pace Facebook and YouTube pages. Plus, we're podcasted at paceradio.net. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
The only way to go.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888. And grow on with CTCP.
Catch the Reefer Reporters Mondays and Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, live here on the Pace Radio Network.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. And you're watching the Reefer Reporters, and we are back from a medication break. Well, Glenn, we got 5 more stories to cover. I hope it doesn't take another hour, 45 minutes to cover these.
I'll shut up and stop talking.
You know, there was things, controversial things that were in those first stories, and we discussed them. And that takes time.
It does.
It sure does. All right. Up next, we got regulate cannabis like corn. U.S. Farm Bill proposal raises eyebrows and hopes, according to MJ Biz Daily. And I know, Glenn, it raised my eyebrow. What are they talking about here with corn? Because, I always heard about regulated like alcohol or tobacco, never like corn.
Well, we're going to find out in a minute. It raised my eyebrows, too, seeing that headline. A seemingly offbeat idea to finally approve federal marijuana legalization is getting cannabis reform advocates talking. What about high THC cannabis to low THC hemp in the farm bill?
Yeah, it's an idea a few cannabis advocates in the community have considered, but the suggestion isn't coming from just pro-legalization member of Congress. It's an idea from a powerful gatekeeper, the chair of the House Agricultural Committee. Oh,
wow.
Agricultural Committee. That's good. That's Democratic Rep. David Scott of Georgia. I knew a guy by the name of David Scott, but not the same one.
He didn't move to Georgia, did he?
No, he didn't. No.
Scott floated the idea of a couple months ago after hearing powerful testimony from Amber Littlejohn, executive director of the Minority Cannabis Business Association. And Littlejohn told lawmakers that small and minority-owned marijuana companies likely won't survive without some help from Congress, adding that the state-level social equity programs have not been able to keep many minority-owned businesses afloat.
Oh, that's too bad. The response, Scott said, the next farm bill coming up in 2023 should address the barriers that small businesses and Black entrepreneurs face when trying to start legal cannabis companies under state law. He says that here we are, the fastest growing agricultural product between hemp and cannabis. We're also going into our farm bill. We've got to address this issue. We can no longer hide it.
After political observers in Washington, D.C. raised their eyebrows about the comments, Scott doubled down. As the chair of the House Agriculture Committee, I am committed to addressing the issue of cannabis in our next farm bill, he wrote on Twitter, and I say good luck to you.
Yeah.
That's going to be a hard one to go through there.
Yes, exactly. I lost where you were.
Yeah.
All right. Big changes, they say, are happening in the 2018 Farm Bill. They say far-fetched, maybe not. After all, the last reauthorization of the Farm Bill in 2018 saw Congress alter the Controlled Substances Act to say that low THC cannabis varieties known as hemp are no longer illegal. So maybe this is why they're looking at changing it this way.
Maybe. The measure passed with bipartisan support and ushered in a sea change for the entire cannabis industry, even those growing high THC varieties that remained illegal. That's because hemp legalization brought the cannabinoid CBD to the mainstream audiences and created the first modern 50-state cannabis market.
Yeah, hemp legalization also saw entrepreneurs finding ways to make intoxicating THC products from legal hemp extracts, sparking competition and the emergence of mainstream e-commerce sales of THC, even in states without legal access to cannabis. That'd probably be the Delta 8, the intoxicating THC product they highlighted there. Okay,
I was reading a story the other day about industrialized hemp changed into THC, and that a bunch of people were worried about it because it's not actual. Pardon?
It's probably Delta 8. They can take the hemp THC in its process, and they call it Delta 8 to the Delta 9.
Oh, I see. Okay. Scott's comment has some wondering if the next farm bill could simply change the Controlled Substances Act once again and remove any THC limit on cannabis. Given Scott's current position as gatekeeper of what goes in or doesn't go in periodic farm bill updates, no one is dismissing the idea that the next farm bill could simply change the Controlled Substances Act once again to remove any THC limit on cannabis.
I have to agree with Michael Bronstein, head of the American Trade Association of Cannabis and Hemp. He says it's an interesting idea. Though many want Congress to make cannabis legal nationwide, there's a lot of discussion about who should have regulatory authority over it. There are real differences between opinion in the market. It's somewhat like a game of Jenga, because all the pieces are connected. And if you pull a piece out, it affects the entire market.
MJ Biz Daily found strong opinions from across the cannabis industry when asked whether the U.S. Department of Agriculture might be the right agency to oversee marijuana cultivation. Who else would look after it if it's not the Department of Agriculture?
Well, it's an agricultural product.
Yeah, they're going to make a special department for this. That's what they're going to do.
Well, yeah, here we have Health Canada.
Yeah, but I'm thinking the U.S. is going to have a cannabis department.
Oh, that would be nice.
That's what it seems like to me, and it depends on how it's run, if it's nice or not.
You know? As long as it's exactly. If it's doing it the good way, and not throwing a bunch of roadblocks in the way in order for things to be stopped, then yeah. I'd like to see an agency that would help out for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if the U.S. is ready to go with a helpful agency yet.
Well, they have to eventually. Come on, the rest of the states are doing it. It just
eventually, yes, but the federal government there seems to be stuck in the 60s or 50s.
This is one way of doing it. Regulate like corn. Hey, who knew?
I fully agree with that. I hope they do.
Yeah.
Some are scoffing at a marijuana industry regulated by farm officials with more expertise on broad acre commodities such as wheat. That makes sense.
Skeptics also point out that if the GOP takes control of the U.S. House, as some expect, Republicans on the Agriculture Committee have expressed no interest in expanding the cannabis legalization through the 2023 Farm Bill.
In fact, the likely chair of Republican-led Agriculture Committee, Representative Glenn Thompson of Pennsylvania, voted against the marijuana legalization bill just last week that passed the House for a second time.
Yeah, even some prominent hemp advocates say that cannabis could distract from other changes they'd like to see in the 2023 Farm Bill, such as higher THC limits and clarity about intoxicating products made from a converted hemp extract, such as Delta 8 THC.
Yeah, I'm skeptical that we'll see cannabis legalization through the Farm Bill, given the problems getting things passed in the Senate, said Jonathan Miller, head of the U.S. Hemp Authority and a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. Others believe it's a great idea.
Yep. The USDA is an agricultural regulatory agency, is almost certainly going to do a better job of regulating than the DEA, which is essentially a cop agency. Mm-hmm. And I have to agree with Zach Isran, President and Chief Science Officer for the Hemp District Enterprises. Don't have the police regulate it. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. That's why I say it's got to go under agricultural, not under DEA. Yeah.
Can you imagine the police have to add that to their list of things they have to do today?
Yeah, well, they already do down there in the U.S. and the DEA looking after things.
Yeah,
they're the ones who license studies or allow people to access cannabis for research, which is far and few between.
Yeah. I wish it wasn't. For the longest time, it would have been changed by now.
Yeah. So
For a
let's
long
see.
time. Sorry.
Let's hope that. Are you gonna continue? Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. For a long time, cannabis activists such as Megan Fox talk of high THC cannabis joining its low THC cousin in the next farm bill is a welcome change. She spent more than a decade lobbying on cannabis and now represents the granddaddy of cannabis advocacy, NORML. Said the fact that a Georgia agricultural official is even talking about broader cannabis reform represents real progress.
That's right. Yeah. I think it's indicative of a growing desire, both among voters as well as elected officials, to try to actually see something get done regarding to ending cannabis prohibition, she says. I think it's also indicative of a general level of frustration with Congress to pass standalone descheduling legislation, which so far has been kind of stagnating, despite a lot of pronouncements that this would be a priority issue. Yeah, I agree with her. It's stagnating, all right.
And public opinion strongly supports marijuana legalization, so it's only a matter of time before Congress will act. And that is true. It just takes a long time.
Yeah. Now, longtime California cannabis consultant Oliver Summers said Scott's proposal is humorous and important at the same time. Even if the bill doesn't have any chance in hell of passing, we just like the fact that the people are talking about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because if people are talking about it, then it's on their minds. And
Definitely.
if it's not being talked about, people think everything is happy. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
The more talk, the more change.
That's right. So I see they're talking over there in Europe, because over in Europe, they say that more than half of Europeans support cannabis legalization, according to the Financial Post.
Yeah, Europe's liberal approach could reap multiple financial and economic benefits, as seen in the United States, which has witnessed a surge of cannabis use during pandemic-induced lockdowns. While the majority of Europeans support regulated cannabis shops, most do not favor growing the plant at home, according to the report by London-based consultancy Hanway and pot producer Laura Leaf International. I think that's because they've been told it's dangerous, you know?
To grow, yeah. What's so dangerous about growing a couple plants outside? Come on.
Nothing. They grow their roses, no problems.
Yeah, that's right. The report comes a week after the U.S. House of Representatives on Friday passed a bill to end the federal ban on cannabis, which has created legal headaches for users and businesses in the state that have legalized it. They say that, according to Boris Jordan, executive of U.S.-based Cureleaf, he says, we see European markets as 3 to 4 years behind the U.S., but it actually looks like the European may initiate sweeping reform before the United States.
I think that's what happens just because of the political climate in the States right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Many European countries, including Germany, have legalized cannabis for limited medical purposes, while others have decriminalized its general use. Malta became the first European country to allow limited cultivation and personal use of cannabis. The European cannabis market is expected to cross 3 billion euros in annual revenue by 2025, up from about 400 million euros last year. According to a report from research firm Prohibition Partners, Germany has been the biggest market in the continent so far.
Jay Bayron says that this is a clear political desire and willingness in Germany to legalize recreational use. Goes on to say, given it, Germany is the largest economy in Europe, we think it will lead the way and create a domino effect for the rest of the continent.
I think they're right.
Yeah, and that's what happens when one does it and the others see that the sky hasn't fallen, others join in.
I think that's what's happening between Canada and the States now. The States is realizing that Canada didn't become a despot, and we didn't everything break down here once we legalized it.
Great. All righty, on to our next story. And this one says that 92% of patients report improvements in chronic pain after using cannabis oil, according to Mugglehead magazine.
Khiron Life Sciences Corp has a new study found that 92% of Colombian patients using the company's cannabis oil formulations reported some degree of improvement in chronic pain. And on Tuesday, the multinational cannabis operator announced the results of a clinical study published in the journal Frontiers in Pain Research. where it showed that 70% of patients reported a 50% improvement in chronic pain after 4 weeks of treatment with the cannabis oils.
And that's some people say, well, it didn't eliminate pain. Well, I know myself, I've always told people that what I find is it dulls it down.
Yeah.
It can help
that's my experience.
Yeah, it can make it more bearable. It's not guaranteed that it'll vanish completely, but if it can make it bearable, so your quality of life goes up, then hey, and without taking any opiates, why not?
Definitely.
Yeah. The study describes the short, mid, and long-term efficacy of 2 THC and CBD oil formulations, including one with a balanced 1-to-1 ratio and one with a 1 to 25 ratio. So, it also found that 7 out of 10 patients did not suffer from adverse effects, and those who did report side effects said they were mild, transient, and faded after 12 weeks.
Khiron Moreno Suez said the company believes the results are generalizable across patient populations, given the results are extremely well aligned with those reported by other researchers studying similar clinical populations, just like the long-standing medical cannabis access programs in Israel and Canada.
For the study, medical researchers from Khiron Life Sciences and doctors from their other clinics evaluated 2,112 patients diagnosed with chronic pain that were receiving treatment using Khiron's oil-based cannabis formulas.
And patients received the treatment at the Latin American Institute of Neurology and Nervous Systems, Zerenia Clinic in Bogota, Colombia, between May and September 2021, and responded to questionnaires monitoring the degree of clinical improvements as well as the side effects. Most of the participants were women with an average age of 58, while 1/3 of the patients were over 65.
Yep, good to know. The global impact and economic burden of chronic pain in our society, mounting and medical evidence will increase access to cannabinoid-based medicines worldwide, according to the company.
I believe he's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And a recent vote in the United Nations House of Representatives promoting medical research on cannabis clearly shows the pressing need to develop effective and safe cannabis-based medication for suffering patients worldwide, he added. Khiron indicates Zerenica clinics in Colombia, Peru, Germany, and the United Kingdom and Brazil. It also recently partnered with the largest nonprofit focusing on children with disabilities in Mexico and is set to commence medical cannabis sales soon.
Well, focusing on the kids in Mexico is interesting. That that'd be some more research. I'm sure that will come up, showing some benefits for our youth when it comes to cannabis medicinally.
That's something I think it's great that they're focusing on down there, because I don't believe it's possible to do any kind of testing or medical things with children in the States. It's really, really hard to get anything like that through there.
Yeah, exactly. So, if they get it done in other countries and it's connected to the U.S. somehow, it results, right?
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Up next, this is a question that some people have asked. Does cheap weed give you a good high? According to the fresh toast, they're wondering. What do you think, Glenn?
I think some companies are starting to catch on to the idea that cheap weed is a widely untapped market in the legal sector. I think that's been missing for a long time.
That's right.
As soon as the government came in, the prices went skyrocket here, and they actually lost money the first year.
Yeah. Cannabis NB. Now they're making money.
They're making money now, but the prices have dropped dramatically.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember reading one report where a pre-rolled joint was dropped from $26 down to like $20, and I'm thinking $26 for a joint, really?
Yeah, and here, if you go to the reserve here, you can buy a pre-rolled of fairly decent marijuana or cannabis for between $5 and $8, and I'm talking a gram joint.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Much
so it's
better.
A good sized joint. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those $26 joints weren't even a gram. They were, half gram joints, and they were way overpriced, and it wasn't even very good.
Yeah, I know. I see some where the advertising joints are a quarter gram. And I'm going, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
What do you do with that?
I know. Spinners. All right. Up next. Keep reading. Keep reading.
The rise of the marijuana dispensary has brought joy to many cannabis users. Cannabis dispensaries have helped diversify the strains of cannabis and have completely revolutionized the way Americans get high.
Yeah, the legalization of recreational cannabis in many states has given birth to the trusted bud tender and even an occasional weed snob. In fact, there are a growing number of similarities between wine enthusiasts and weed enthusiasts. But
True.
but not everyone is after the pricey cream of the crop. Many are simply looking for a cheap quality bud that provides a good high. But is cheap cannabis any good, or should you stick with the top shelf to ensure a premium experience? What do you think?
I don't think the top shelf really gives you a premium experience. Maybe you'll get a little better flavor, or maybe you can get less chemicals in it. That's one of my big problems.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's got a well-known name.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I don't. I've had 1,000 different kinds, and it all depends on who grow it and how much love they gave to it. That was it.
Yeah. Key word, love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The price of weed does not necessarily mean it is going to give you the best high, nor does the most expensive weed even mean it is the best weed. There are, in fact, many factors that go into the price of weed. Everything from grow to extraction methods to crop yields, supply and demand, and natural disasters like wildfires can directly affect the strains available. The price of each strain and the quality you receive is as a discerning cannabis consumer explains the Colorado dispensary Caring Kind.
This means that there is a chance that a strain of cannabis can be inexpensive in an area where there is low demand and it grows easily. The same type of cannabis can be much more expensive, however, somewhere where there is high demand and there were certain environmental difficulties the plants face during the growing season.
Yeah, the price tag should not be your number one indicator as how good the product is. Every plant has a different makeup. While you hear the term indica and sativa constantly, there is no more to weed than just those two classifications.
Yeah, now according to Healthline, they say individual plants produce varying effects even among the same types of cannabis. It all depends on the plant's chemical composition and the growing technique used. Not all types of plants affect people the same. It is important to figure out what cannabinoid profile or the plant's specific chemical makeup works best for the type of effects you're after. You may find that what you seek can be found in a cheap strain of flower rather than an exclusive variety that costs more than your groceries.
And it's very true. I've had people many times tell me that the strain I was growing before was way too strong and they did not like that. And that they wanted a sativa, something more mild, right?
What strain was that?
What was it called?
Oh.
What would that be called, that strain? I can't even remember.
Oh, there you go. Hey, I got you.
It might have been Humber Valley. I'm pretty sure.
Humber Valley. Okay, well, Humber Valley is right there, banner behind me, right there. And it tested out at 17%.
It's one of the most reliable, best tasting strains I've ever had in my life.
Oh, yummy. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's good stuff. But yeah.
The 2020 study published by JAMA Psychiatry found that while concentrates in flower have very different THC levels, there was actually little to no difference in how high the participants got. The study concluded differences in short-term subjective and neurological neurobehavioral impairments did not track specifically with strength of the cannabis consumed. So while you can certainly pay a premium for the high THC weed, you're not guaranteed to get any higher than with any cheaper bud.
Some companies are starting to catch on the idea that the cheap cannabis is widely untapped market in the legal sector. Companies like Khiron Corp are seeking to roll out affordable cannabis that can compete with the illicit market that has found continued success by charging lower prices than many dispensaries for flower.
And it can gain a meaningful share of the low-cost market and even take some market share from illicit providers It has the basis of a very nice business, according to the National Institute of Cannabis Investors. McDonald's makes more money than probably every high-end steakhouse in the world combined. And it does that through low prices and low quality, I might say, though.
Yeah. So while it's surely fun to experiment with and discuss exclusive strains and try the latest concentrates, keep in mind that is not necessary. Just like a wine consumer on a box wine budget. If you do your research and you find a cheap strain of cannabis that will take you to where you want to go, then why not?
Yeah. Yep. It's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And
I don't like the analogy with McDonald's there because it doesn't ring true to me, that one.
I don't go to I don't eat at McDonald's. My system won't handle it.
Yeah, I'm not a big McDonald's fan. I like their coffee. That's about all.
Experience, done that. Didn't work. Yeah. But I know one guy commented, local guy. He commented on this story. He says to me that the cannabis that he grew is the cheapest cannabis he's grown, and it's just tickety-boo to him.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I have a lot of stuff that I've grown that I really, really like.
Yeah.
A lot of different strains, and a lot of them weren't expensive ones.
Yeah, exactly. All right, up to our last story of the day. Headline says, Russian invasion of Ukraine further upends cannabis supply chain. You know, you would think that the oil market, all that stuff would be disrupted, but cannabis?
Well, maybe it has something to do with oil.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see.
Global supply chain woes, first triggered by the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, have been exacerbated by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the U.S. cannabis industry is expected to feel the added fallout for months.
Yep. Several companies executives told MJ Biz Daily the problems are likely to continue this year, further forcing up costs and making it even more difficult for companies to secure key supplies such as specialty packaging, chemical solvents, used to concentrate production, and stainless steel.
The two big pain points are going to be the solvents, the extraction price, the consumables on that side, the packaging, because everyone wants a specialized brand, predicted Liz Gieselman, co-founder of Canna Consortium, a group of 16 ancillary businesses and that cater to plant-touching cannabis businesses.
Yeah. The war has not only resulted in a spike in gasoline prices, which has zapped the cannabis delivery firms, but also caused an increase in prices for substances such as corn and ethanol, which are major products from the U.S.
The ripple effects are hitting other natural resources, some of which have delayed cost increases because of the time it takes to refine fuels such as natural gas, propane, and butane, she warned. If cannabis businesses are using any kind of solvent, all of that is going to skyrocket in the next month or so because it hasn't hit the refineries yet.
They're going to see it in the next 3 to 6 months, adding that the prices for solvents for consumption in the concentrate market are the most unstable I've ever seen in 25 years of working in the chemical sales business. And that was according to Guy Gielsman.
Yeah, the situation could worsen. Depending on whether China decides to support the Russian invasion. If the U.S. imposes additional sanctions on Chinese imports beyond the 25% tariff established during the Trump administration, all your plastic packaging, circuitry controls, everything coming out of China is in question right now. Yeah.
Even before the invasion in February, the U.S. market industry was feeling the pinch because of the coronavirus. Companies faced larger labor shortages, rising prices for equipment and materials, shipping delays, and more. That has forced many companies to reassess and revamp procurement strategies as their margins dwindled.
And Chief Brand Officer at Cannabis Kitchen Supplies, Rocco Inapolo, a Colorado-based distributor for cannabis retailers, manufacturers, and growers, said the situation has created a global domino effect in which shortages in one industry have led to ongoing problems elsewhere. And the cannabis industry is not immune, he noted.
Now he says whatever has corrected itself is equally weighed down by things that haven't corrected themselves. We saw a lot of suppliers and vendors changing their accounting practices. People that extended terms have all of a sudden stopped doing that because they didn't have the cash flow. That still persists today.
And Gieselman noted that the COVID-19 pandemic began in early 2020. It seemed like one major disruption after another popped up, including weather-related problems with oil refineries in Houston, governmental upheaval in countries such as Brazil, and now the war in Ukraine. It all started there, Gieselman said of the pandemic, but it really exposed how vulnerable we are in every industry, dependent on things that don't come from this country typically.
She noted one of the latest shortages to cause price hike is stainless steel, which she mentioned that earlier. Now, what?
Yeah.
That in turn has caused a 25% price increase for anything in a can that might be sold at a grocery store.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bill Gorman, Colorado-based sales director for botanical extraction, said shipping prices have skyrocketed for pretty much all international goods because of the increase in fuel prices. That is affecting every aspect of the supply chain, he said.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time. Now with gas prices, flights, and cargo is getting just absolutely astronomical. 4 times and going up. If we're not having supply chain issues, then we're not selling or buying anything as a consumer on a commercial side. The shortages aren't only on the supply side either, he says. A major issue now is a lack of labor, which has led to longer wait times for goods to be delivered.
I've been waiting for 2 weeks for a shipping container that landed in North Carolina to get here, Gorman said. We keep getting pushback saying we don't have the resources, we don't have the manpower, and this is in Wilmington. It's not a busy port in comparison to California, Gorman said.
Yeah. They say that he says the government advised that others implement what he calls the 3 Ps: patience, and plan B. He says an obvious step is to line up secondary source for any materials that are vital to the core business in case the primary source falls through. It's always good to have plan B.
Yeah, of course. I like the way he put it, though, the 3 Ps.
Yeah.
It could be 2, it could be 6, Gorman said, of the number of suppliers that a given company should have at the ready. If you don't do that, then you just put all your eggs in one basket. Gieselman echoed the point, saying all companies must consider backup sources for all their materials.
Yeah, and she says make sure you're not dependent on just one company, one country, and one product. Make sure you protect yourself and insulate yourself because who the hell knows? That's right. Exactly. Who does? Who knows? We just don't know. So
fascinating story, though. Everything's connected.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. As soon as the gas prices go up, then grocery prices go up because it all has to be delivered.
Yep.
$2 a liter for diesel fuel is just
buy local.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as you can, anyway.
Walk to your farmer's market.
Well, that's a long walk for me.
Yeah.
It would take me about, an hour and a half to walk to the farmer's market.
Not me. It would only take me about 10 minutes. But as long as it takes to smoke a joint, about how long it takes me to get to the farmer's market from here.
I could do it in the car in probably maybe 12 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. Well, hey, get out of the car early. Walk that last mile. All right. So what's up this week for you? Doing any more guitar work?
Not so much guitar work. I'll be playing guitar. I can guarantee that. I'm working on my house. Lots and lots of work on the house.
Oh, it just never ends, man. Never ends. That's right. Okay. Other than that, from the Legacy420.com news desk and for our buds at BMA Hydroponics, Dr. Buck's Cannabis Trimming Solutions at drbuckscts.com. The Camel for Lifestyle Shop, Legacy420.com. That's our reefer report for November. It's now. This is now April the 7th. Have to update that. As we close the show, thanks for listening, everybody. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, baby. That's lovely.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.